So today I have for you my April wrap-up, wrapping up all the books that I read in the month of April. So the first book that I read in the month of April was When the Husband is a Suspect, which is by F.L.E. Bailey and Jean Rabe. This is about true crime, obviously, which I actually really enjoy reading true crime if you do not know, but it's about when husbands were the suspect in murder cases and whether they were false or true or whatever. I picked this book up in an op shop because I really like true crime and I thought it would be interesting. It definitely was interesting. It was nothing special though. What I really like about true crime though is when you have one book dedicated to a whole crime. This, however, you go through a whole lot of different ones. However, you only got like really one chapter to deal with one crime. So you miss out a lot of the evidence and everything and you don't really get the full picture, which is what I really like in my true crime. This still was pretty good though, and I think I rated it a 3 out of 5 stars. Then I read Tales from Shadowhunter Academy, which is by Cassandra Clare and I believe some other authors, I'm not too sure. Obviously this is only available in ebook currently, so I read it because I wanted to read Lady Midnight this month and it killed me. It killed me so much to read this in ebook format because if you know me, you know that I do not read ebooks. However, I did it and I got through it and I am so glad I did that because otherwise if I had read Lady Midnight, I would have been spoiled for so much. Tales from Shadowhunter Academy makes it just sound like you're going to be following Simon throughout his years in Shadowhunter Academy, but trust me, you get so much more than just that. You go back and you visit certain characters and it's just, you need to read it. You will miss out on so much if you do not read it, and it's just so important. Novellas aren't meant to be that important, but these novellas were very, very important. First couple might just be average for you, but you just need to get past them and then your mind will be blown. Trust me, it is so important that you read those novellas. I rated this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Then I borrowed it from the library, but I already had to return it, so I don't have it here with me, which is The Amazing Book, which is Not on Fire, I believe, by Dan Is Not on Fire and The Amazing Phil. They're both YouTubers, you would probably all know them. I just thought it would be a really quick, fun read, and my library had it, so I borrowed it out, and yeah, it was just a really quick, fun read. If you like their videos, then I would suggest reading this book. I'm not sure if I would buy it, but if you could get it from the library, I highly recommend it. I rated the book a 3 out of 5 stars. I also bought another book from the library, which I do not have here to show you because again, I had to return it, but it is My Sister Rosa. I forgot who the author is. I should have written that down. I'm such a nincompoop. But this book was really, really good, even so much so that I'm debating about getting a copy for myself. It's a very family orientated book, which is what I love in YA, and it is about a boy whose sister is a psychopath and he basically tries to keep her in line. It's really creepy and cool and I really liked it, and if it sounds any more interesting to you, I would highly recommend you go pick it up because I really enjoyed the book and I rated it a 4 out of 5 stars. And then I read Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare, which is of course the first book in the Dark Artifact series. Oh, Lady Midnight. Lady Midnight. We were anticipating this book, weren't we guys? And we finally got it. It's a big chunker, but it's so, as always, of always Cassandra Clare's books, really quick and easy to read. It's about Emma and Julian, who are shadow hunters, and as well as being shadow hunters, they're para party, which means they are linked. Emma's parents were murdered a little while ago and Emma is still trying to find the murderer, and this is basically her trying to find out who murdered her parents, as long as that she's finding herself falling in love with Julian, which is forbidden because he is her parabody and parabody romance is strictly forbidden and she doesn't know why, and yeah, there's a lot going on in this book basically. I really enjoyed it. I rated it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. My favourites still are the Clockwork series by Cassandra Clare, but I still really enjoyed this one and I can't wait to see where the series goes and what happens next. And then I read The Glittering Court by Rochelle Mead, and if you saw my book haul last month, I was so excited to get this book. This book was one of my most anticipated releases for the year, as well as Lady Midnight, and I was kind of disappointed. Rochelle Mead is one of my favourite authors, don't get me wrong, and so I had such high hopes going into this, and I think in the end I rated it a 3.5 if I'm being generous. I liked this book, but it just wasn't up to Rochelle Mead's standards. I feel like ever since The Ruby Circle, which was the last book in the Bloodline series, everything that she's put out since then just hasn't been fantastic. And it's a real shame, and I'm still gonna read everything that she puts out, but I'm just really hoping that we get back what we first loved about Rochelle Mead. This book basically follows Adelaide, who is a countess and she's in an arranged marriage to her cousin, which she just doesn't want to be a part of. So instead she escapes to the Glittering glittering court, which will turn maids and such into ladies. For a whole year, they'll learn how to act and behave like a proper lady. Then at the end of the year, they'll go and they'll be auctioned off kind of to get married. However, if a person receives more than one offer for marriage, then they get to choose who they'll marry. And it's like, it sounds kind of horrible, but the way it's described in this book, it's kind of not. Like, a lot of the girls are excited to be there in the glittering court. Adelaide obviously is ecstatic because she gets to get away and she finally gets to make some choices. This book jumped pace though a lot. Like, I thought we were going to spend a whole lot of the book in the glittering court, but we didn't. We kind of like halfway through the book, not even halfway, we're already out of the glittering court. Like, the whole year had already been done by. Like, it was really fast paced and quick, and it kept changing scenes really quickly, which was good in a one way because it kept it entertaining, but I could also understand how people might not like it for that fact. For me though, it was just okay. And I've also heard that apparently this book is being marketed as fantasy, and let me just tell you, it is not fantasy. No way in a million years are there any fantasy elements in this book. I was completely blown away when I heard it was described as fantasy, because this is not fantasy. The only slight fantasy element is that the countries and the places have weird fantasy names. Apart from that, there's no fantasy elements in here, so don't go into here expecting it's a fantasy, because it ain't. As I said though, I liked this book, and yeah, I rated it a 3.5. I'm just really hoping that Richelle Mead starts bringing out the stuff that I really love from her. And then I borrowed out Passenger from Alexander Bracken from the library, which obviously, as I said, I had to return some books, so it's gone back to the library. I liked this book. It's about a girl who gets thrown back in time, and she's there because she has to find something that her mother apparently hid, and if she doesn't do that, then there are going to be dire consequences. This book was just kind of average for me. I was expecting a lot of hype. I've read The Darkest Minds by her and I really enjoyed it, but honestly, it just wasn't anything special, and I just kind of enjoyed it. Like, it wasn't, you know, fantastic or amazing or anything like that, and I think I rated it a 3.5. Then I read Hold Me Closer. It's a Tiny Cooper story by David Leverhan. This is somewhat a companion novel to Will Grayson, basically a script to the Tiny Cooper musical. It was okay, it was funny, it was smart, definitely wasn't anything special. I'm glad that I borrowed it from the library because I honestly wouldn't read this again. If I had got it, I would probably get rid of it. It was just like a once read for me. I think I rated it a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Then I read Vanishing Girls by Lauren Oliver. This is about Dara and Nick, who are two sisters who were inseparable once, but ever since the accident they've been not talking to each other. And then one day Dara vanishes on her birthday and everyone thinks she's just run away, but then Nick discovers that another girl has gone missing too, and she starts to think that they're linked. And Nick goes on a mission to try and find out what happened to her sister. I really liked this book. This book had a twist in it which I didn't see coming, though thinking about it, I really should have. Like, it was kind of obvious. I just didn't see it coming. It just didn't really cross my mind that that could be the reason why everything was happening. Did enjoy it. Was slightly creepy, but I still really enjoyed it, and I think I rated it a 3.5. Then I read We All Looked Up by Tommy Wallace. I just don't know how I feel about this book, to be honest. It follows a different group of people who are given 2 months to maybe live when an asteroid is set to maybe hit Earth. And they're all going through their different times, and you get to see them and how their stories kind of interlapped and everything, where they've got 2 months to maybe live. I enjoyed this book. While it was getting to the end though, stuff started happening really quickly, and at times it was confusing of what had happened, and then the end happened, and I just was not happy with this ending. If you've read this book, you probably know what I mean, but I didn't like the ending at all, and so I think I rated this book a 3 out of 5 stars. Then I have Zeros by Scott Westerfield, Margot Lynch, Debra Bakati. Can't say off his names today, as we all know. This is about a group of 6 unlikely heroes who have kind of superpowers, but they're very different. For example, our main character has the ability of a voice that kind of knows everything, but he can't have control of the voice, and a lot of the time this voice gets him in trouble. This was a really fun book. I actually was going into it expecting that I wasn't really going to enjoy it, but I actually really had a fun time reading it. I loved reading about all the different superpowers and everything. I thought the concept was really interesting, and I just really enjoyed it. It was such a fun read. I think I rated this book a 4 out of 5 stars, and I really can't wait for the next book in the series to come out. Lastly, I read All Four Down by Ali Carter. This is about a girl named Grace, who everyone believes is crazy, but Grace knows she's not. You see, she saw her mother was murdered. She saw it happen, but nobody believes her that her mother was murdered. They all think it was just an accident. And so she comes out on a mission to try and find out who murdered her mother, so she can prove to herself and the world that she is not crazy. And it's basically about her journey trying to do that. This was very interesting. I enjoyed it. It definitely wasn't anything special though. I'm happy that I borrowed it from the library. Towards the end though, stuff started really happening and it was like a twist after a twist after a twist, and you're like, wow, what's the truth? What's not the truth? And then you get to the end and you're like, oh, okay, wow. There is another book in this series and I can't wait to read it, though again, I will probably borrow it from the library. I just don't see this as a series that I would reread or really recommend. It's just a kind of a fun series, and I have a thing where if I start a series, I have to finish it. So whilst I only rated this book a 3.5, I am interested to see where the story goes. So these are the books that I read in the month of April. Obviously I read more, but they're at the library now, so I read 12 books this month, which I think is pretty good, so I'm pretty happy about that. Let me know in the comments below what you read in the month of April and what was your favourite read. Mine was most likely Lady Midnight. And like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you'd like to see more book related videos to me, and I will see you next time. Okay, bye!